All right, this is one of my favorite topics. I actually learned about this when I was in residency, and when I presented it to my residency class, I felt like they thought I was crazy, but now we have more research on sleep chronotype. So sleep chronotypes are natural preferences of the body for wakefulness and sleep. This is an individual's, an individual's chronotype is influenced by your genetics. It's driven by your circadian rhythm. It also factors in where you live, like where, because different time zone and depending on your geographical location, this can also influence your chronotype. Chronotypes affect sleep as well as performance and activity throughout the day. So if you learn to adapt to your natural chronotype, you can actually improve your sleep quality, energy, mood, and productivity. That is why I want to share this with you, right? Most people know about circadian rhythm, and we hear that we need to sleep between 7 to 8 hours, but how can we tweak this to have it even better for us by understanding what our sleep chronotype is? So there are 4 different types of sleep chronotype. The lion is the one that stands for the early bird. So the doctor who came up with this, he puts this together so it's easy for us to understand. That's why he names them after lion and dolphins and wolves. But ultimately, these individuals wake up really early and are most productive in the morning. They have a lot of brain power, but they may have trouble following a social schedule in the evenings because they have to go to bed early. They usually have to wind down by between 7 to 9 p.m. and so that they need their sleep in order to wake up early. Their personality traits are associated with morningness, including conscientiousness, and agreeableness. And they actually usually do really well in school in this group. 15% of the population have been shown to be lions. And lions, they are diligent and most productive in the morning. So if you look at when they're most productive, you can see that it's between 9 a.m. and to 2 p.m. And so they have to wind down and go to sleep by 10. Ideally, this is the most favorable sleep chronotype for most of us because it also coincides with the traditional medicine principle that we need to go to sleep by 10 p.m. However, most of us are not this chronotype, right? The most populated chronotype is going to be the bear. And Dr. Bruce, who came up with this, who studied sleep chronotype, said that people with this intermediate chronotype tend to follow the sun. So they do well with traditional office hours, but also have problem maintaining social life in the evening because they also need to go to sleep somewhat early, right? But they are most productive from 10 to 2 p.m. They wake up well at 7, while lions, they wake up better at between 5 and 6. And then their bedtime for the bears is better at 11. So that means they usually have to wind down between 8 and 9 p.m. And then that will allow them to have really good sleep. So the most of us are in this group. And then we have the wolf. The wolf chronotype is equivalent to a classic night owl, and it's believed to make up approximately 15% of the population. The traits that is typically associated with the wolf is eveningness, neuroticism, and openness. They are creative thinkers, they are most productive in the afternoon, and they like to go to bed late. So their best wake time is between 7:30, sometimes 8:30, and then their most productive is between 1 to 5 p.m., and they usually get in bed and go to sleep at 12. Or midnight. So that means they usually have to wind down between 9 to 10 p.m. Now, these guys are the social, evening social group. And then we have the dolphin. The dolphin habit, like to me, is the worst of it all because this is based on the ability of real dolphins' ability to stay alert even while they're sleeping. So human dolphins are best described as insomniacs. So these guys, they don't sleep very well at all. In general, they are sensitive sleepers, they're light sleepers, so they wake up easily, and it's hard for them to keep a regular sleep schedule. So they can wake up at 6 a.m., they're most productive between 3 to 7 p.m., and their bedtime is at 11. However, like I said, this is usually not the case. And I use this to kind of assess my patients, myself, and just people I talk to. It holds pretty true to what your type are. So the way you can determine what sleep chronotype you have is you can Google it and just do sleep chronotype quiz. And then there's going to be a couple of quizzes that come up for you. You can choose one, and then you're going to figure out yours. We actually have created a PDF shortcut for you which I'll show you in a little bit, that will allow you to see what your best schedule is, and I invite you to just test it out for yourself. Don't take my word for it. See if it really matches with you, and then if you follow the schedule that we put together for you for your chronotype, do it for 2 weeks. right? But now most of us, if we have a job that requires us to stick to a certain schedule, obviously we're not going to be able to change our sleep schedule due to our job. However, if you can, try it out anyway. But also I want you to know and distinguish the difference between your sleep chronotype and your circadian rhythm. So the circadian rhythm controls our day-to-day sleep-wake cycle, and it actually can be trained. We can be trained to adhere. If we have a strict schedule, we can train ourselves to change our circadian rhythm. This is how we can, do night shift. This is how we can do, different shift during the day. Those people have to train themselves to do so. Chronotype is something that is more permanent. It is considered to be difficult to purposely change the chronotype, although our chronotype might change throughout our life. For instance, usually when we're like younger babies, infants, toddlers, they have an earlier sleep chronotype. But as we get older, like in after menopause or in our 50s, 60s, and 70s, we're gonna naturally, in general, all the older population will have a later chronotype because their circadian rhythm has changed as well. Now, there is a term called social jet lag. This is when a person's natural chronotype comes into conflict with the demands of their schedule. For instance, if you work at night, or if you have a certain work schedule, let's say, a bear, they're good at having, that standard work schedule. But for someone who is a wolf, they probably can't stick to the wolf schedule, and they have to, if they work in a environment where it's 9 to 5, they have to follow that standard schedule. They will have a problem with their sleep pattern. And so by understanding this, you can look and really focus on using sleep hygiene habits, even maybe use supplements. Melatonin helps. But also, I don't just use melatonin. I actually avoid using melatonin, but that's what the research says. You can use melatonin to induce your sleep cycle, which makes sense. However, when we take melatonin, there is that risk that we stop producing our own melatonin. So I just use CBN. It's a cannabinoid that helps you calm down and it helps induce sleep. And I use magnesium early in the night. So those are things that you can do. And then you can use light therapy. You can actually put different lights, like bright lights, during certain time for you to train your brain to thinking that it's still daytime, or you can use candlelight or red light in the evening time to make your brain think that this is evening time. Let me start to wind down. So these are things that I find really interesting that can help you really support your journey to balance your work life, but also really these are strategies that you can use to optimize your health overall, because sleep is so important, as I have stressed with you. If we can figure out how to sleep optimally, we can really impact the rest of the day. Because if we get good sleep, it helps us control our appetite, it helps us heal the gut, it helps us detox. The benefits are endless. And so that's why I take that extra time to introduce this to you guys, so that you guys can try it out and see how it can help you with your journey. All right, thank you so much.